I often find myself daydreaming, what if Australia had a Disneyland? Why doesn't Australia have Disneyland? I want Disneyland in Australia. I try to will it into existence, and so far it hasn't worked. But in the meantime, there's a hidden gem in Australia that's the closest thing that you can get to Disneyland, in my opinion, and that is Sovereign Hill in Ballarat. This place is incredible. This is a little historical recreation town themed to various stages of Ballarat throughout the years. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Ballarat has a very renowned history as a gold rush city. A lot of people flocked to the area from around the world to make their fortune here. And it's really rich in history, which is the culmination of all kinds of cultures from all over the world meeting in one place, and this kind of melting pot, all in the hope of striking gold and making a fortune. It's a really interesting place. And visiting Sovereign Hill, you can experience Ballarat throughout the years in each of its different phases and truly get an understanding of the history of the place that you can't really get from reading books or watching documentaries. The Main Street area is incredible. It's sort of Ballarat, I suppose, when it had truly taken off and became more of a city. There's all kinds of shops that you can enjoy here that are accurate to the times. The staff here are amazing. They're all kind of in character and behave as if they would have done back in the day. You can go into the post office, you can go into the bakery, the doctors, the general store, the sweet shop, the theatre. Basically every building at Sovereign Hill you can actually walk inside, and a lot of the houses actually have volunteers inside who are in character. Ballarat gets really cold, it's very chilly down there, and it's so cozy to walk into a little cottage, and there's a elderly woman knitting by the fire, and she'll tell you all about how people lived back then. It's amazing. One of my favorite things was the New York Bakery on the Main Street area, which is so lovely and so cozy, especially as a reprieve from the cold outside, to come in here and have a nice meal by the fire. So heartwarming and relaxing. On the Main Street, they also do a firing demonstration where the Redcoats come out and fire their rifles. An interesting thing about the history of Ballarat is that it actually has a rebellion, the Eureka Rebellion, which I wasn't familiar with until this year when I read a book about it by Peter Fitzsimmons, which was very insightful and very interesting. There was a big rebellion down in Ballarat and on Australia in general because of the conditions that the miners had to face. They had to pay heavy taxes, they had to pay a license fee, which was incredibly expensive. It almost defeated the purpose of going there in the first place, because it's not like people were going to the mines because they were rich. They were going to the mines because they wanted to strike gold and make a fortune. The license fee was such an issue that it stopped a lot of people from being able to survive there. And rather than easing up, the government doubled down and they sent in lots of police. At the time, everyone was leaving their jobs to go to Ballarat and the other gold mines around Australia to try and make their fortune, including policemen. The police were quitting their jobs. So the police force was basically hiring anyone that they could to fulfill the job, including ex-convicts. Some of the police weren't the nicest guys in the world, and they definitely abused their power. They actually had to bring in the Redcoats to increase the presence, to try and intimidate the miners into following orders and sticking to the rules and things. And it got very, very intense. It turns out when you try to intimidate people, when you bring in the military and have people walking around with guns to try and scare you all the time, it's not the greatest recipe in the world. It's not like the miners were some violent animals or something that needed to be intimidated into submission. They were just regular people trying to make a living. And it all kept getting worse and worse. Tensions were rising on both sides. It eventually culminated in a battle between the rebellion and the Redcoats. And unfortunately, a lot of people lost their lives. All a pretty horrible situation. It was interesting seeing the Redcoats in person after reading my book, seeing them firing their rifles, intimidating everyone. It was very strange. There's a really cool immersive mine experience where you can actually take a tram down into the mines and come face to face with the living conditions and reality of being down there in the mines looking for gold, which is so interesting. It's not for the claustrophobic, but it's extremely educational and fascinating. And it also has a secret ride credit, which I wasn't aware of. There's a little train that you can enjoy. There's this little underground train, which I've never heard of before somehow. Super cool. Very, very impressive. During the time we visited, Sovereign Hill was hosting the Winter Wonderlights event, which is a sort of midwinter Christmas event where the park is transformed at nighttime with projection mapping and lights and sound and music. It's so beautiful. It's a really fantastic opportunity to visit the park, and although it's very chilly, it's well worth sticking outside and enjoying the lights and filming and just the magical atmosphere. This is, as I teased at the beginning of the video, probably the closest you'll get in Australia to a Disneyland experience. I know we've got the theme parks on the Gold Coast, we've got Movie World, Dreamworld, SeaWorld, but none of them quite have the same magical vibe, that same attention to detail that Disney parks have. This place is very special. It's a beautiful place, and I'm so happy that it exists. I'm not implying, by the way, that the horrible history of Ballarat is magical by any means. I simply mean that the experience at Sovereign Hill itself is magical, and I highly recommend visiting this place. It's probably one of the greatest attractions in Australia. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to leave a like, a friendly comment, or subscribe for more. A big thank you to the members and sponsors of Team Yum Yum: Randall, Maloney's Coasters, Kai on the Internet, Oogie Boogie, Theme Park Ogre, Jordan Casey, Johnny Boy 175, The Downy Cat, Mika, Carrie Jekin, Smathmo the Awesome, Aston, Breezy, Koala 75, Audrey Allen, Senpai's JP Blue Dog, Senpai's JP Red Dog, Wayne Hewitt, Lee Donald, SW Stevie 1, The Kez, Lexi Marie, and the latest member of Team Yum Yum, Jacqueline Bees. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.